His ex-fiancée walked up to us at his award gala, touched his arm like she still owned him, and said 6 words that changed everything. "He's incapable of love, sweetie." She was wrong, but it took me 3 months and 1 locked door to prove it. And what I discovered about my husband's past almost destroyed us both. If you're ready for a romance that will wreck you, hit subscribe. This one's different. The contract sat between us like a tombstone. I was 23, staring at elegant print on cream paper, about to sign my life to a man who'd spoken 7 words to me. Total. Sign here, initial there, we're done. Theo Kang stood by the window, silhouette sharp against the Seoul skyline. Even from behind, he radiated control, shoulders squared, hands clasped like a general who'd already won the war. "This arrangement benefits both families," the attorney said, sliding the pen closer. "Your father's firm avoids bankruptcy, the Monroe name stays intact, and Mr. Kang secures his development project." Everyone wins, I thought. Everyone except me. My father had gambled everything on a build that collapsed. 3 people injured, millions in lawsuits. Our family name reduced to rubble and headlines. Theo Kang's offer arrived like a lifeline with razor wire attached. Marriage in exchange for financial backing, legal protection, and restoration of our reputation. The cost? 3 years of my life. 3 years married to a man who'd spoken 7 words to me. Total. I picked up the pen. Theo turned from the window then, and I felt the full weight of his gaze. Devastatingly handsome in that untouchable way. Sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that revealed nothing. At 31, he'd already designed half of Seoul's most iconic buildings. Having second thoughts? His voice was smooth, cold. Would it matter if I did? No. I signed my life away. Here's what I didn't know. Theo Kang wasn't just cold. He was broken. And the woman who broke him? She was about to walk back into our lives. The wedding was 3 weeks later. 400 guests I'd never met. A Vera Wang gown worth more than my car. When the officiant pronounced us married, Theo's kiss lasted exactly 2.3 seconds. I counted. The reception blurred past in champagne and camera flashes. His hand stayed at my back. Warm, but utterly impersonal, like he was steadying expensive furniture. "Smile," he murmured as photographers approached. "You look like you're attending a funeral, aren't I?" The car ride to his penthouse was silent. Seoul's skyline glittered past the windows like broken promises. "Your belongings were moved," Theo said, eyes on his phone. "Mrs. Choi will show you to your room." Your room. Not our room. The penthouse was a masterpiece. 48th floor, all glass and steel and $1,000,000 views. Absolutely zero warmth. Even the art felt like investments, not beauty. Mrs. Choi led me to a bedroom that could have been a hotel suite. Mr. Kang's quarters are on the opposite wing. He keeps early hours, 6 a.m. breakfast. He prefers silence in the mornings. I sat on that king bed in my wedding dress, listening to the silence, and realized I'd just married a stranger who planned to keep me that way. But here's what I didn't know. Theo Kang wasn't just cold, he was broken, and the woman who broke him? She was about to walk back into our lives. Morning came brutal and bright. I found Theo at the dining table, already in Armani, reviewing blueprints like I didn't exist. "There's a schedule on the refrigerator," he said without looking up. 3 events this week. My assistant will send outfits. Smile, be gracious, don't discuss the marriage. Questions? Are you going to ignore me every day for 3 years? His eyes finally met mine. Empty. Clinical. "This is a professional arrangement, Mrs. Kang. We have roles to play in public. What happens in private is irrelevant. We're married. On paper." He stood, collected his things. "I'll be in Tokyo until Thursday." And just like that, my husband walked out. Here's what nobody tells you about contract marriages. The loneliness is worse than being alone. At least when you're single, you're not sitting in a penthouse watching your husband's silhouette disappear into an elevator every morning at 6 a.m. I spent 3 days exploring my prison. 6 bedrooms, private gym, an office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul, and at the end of the East Wing, a locked door that the housekeeper wouldn't explain. I found the key on day 4, hidden in a ceramic vase, probably forgotten. The door opened onto paradise, a greenhouse. 40 feet of glass and green, orchids cascading like waterfalls, a Japanese maple tree growing in the center. It was alive. The only living thing in Theo's entire sterile penthouse. And there he was, kneeling in the soil, shirt sleeves rolled up, looking more human than I'd ever seen him. "This doctor was locked for a reason," he said. "I live here too. Or am I not allowed to exist in the same space you do?" His jaw tightened. "This is private. So is a marriage bed, but you made sure we don't share that either." The words came out sharper than I intended. But I was done. Done with the silence, the cold shoulders, the separate wings of a penthouse that felt more like a mausoleum than a home. "You want honesty?" His voice dropped, dangerous. "Fine. This greenhouse? I built it for my ex-fiancée, Una. 3 months before our wedding, I found out she'd been selling my architectural designs to competitors for 2 years. The engagement, the love, all of it was a con for corporate espionage. I lost $50 million, nearly lost my firm. I stood frozen, finally understanding. "So I made a decision," he continued, voice hollow. "Never again. Business is honest, contracts are clear. Everyone knows the terms. That's not living, Theo, that's hiding. It's surviving. Why build a greenhouse just to hide it? Because it was hers." The words fell like stones. Now here's where it gets crazy. The woman who built this greenhouse with him, she didn't just break his heart. She almost destroyed his entire career. And what she did to him explains everything about why he married me. Theo turned toward the Japanese maple, hand touching delicate leaves. "Una. We were engaged 5 years ago. She loved living things. Said I spent too much time with concrete and steel. So I built this for her." His voice stayed even, but his knuckles whitened. "I lost a $50 million bid. Nearly lost my firm. But that wasn't the worst part. What was? I'd believed her." He finally looked at me, and I saw the wound that had never healed. I'd been stupid enough to think someone could want me for more than what I could provide. So I made a decision. Never again. Business is honest. Contracts are clear. That's not living, Theo. That's existing. It's surviving, and it's kept me from making the same mistake twice. "I'll come here every day," I said, "to water the plants, tend them. They shouldn't suffer because we're both too damaged." "Why would you do that?" "Because someone should care for the things you built with hope, even if you won't." I kept my word. Every morning after Theo left, I disappeared into the greenhouse. The plants responded, blooming with renewed vigor. And slowly, Theo's absences grew shorter. I'd find him there some evenings, just sitting beneath the maple tree. We didn't speak at first, just existed in the same space, breathing jasmine-scented air. Then one night, 3 weeks later, he spoke. "The orchids look better." I looked up from the succulent I was repotting. They were dying from neglect, not malice. Sometimes things just need consistent care. I'm not good at that. I noticed. I set down my trowel. "But you built this space. Some part of you still believes in growth, even if you're terrified of it." "I'm not terrified. You're petrified." I moved closer. "You married me because I was safe. A contract. No risk of real feeling. But Theo, we can't live like strangers for 3 years. It'll destroy us both. What do you want from me? Conversation, honesty, maybe friendship. I'm not asking you to love me. I'm asking you to see me as a person instead of a problem you've solved. Silence stretched between us. I have a gala Thursday, Theo said finally. The Architectural Innovation Awards. I'm being honored for the Hannam District project. You'll need to attend. I know. Your assistant sent the dress. I wasn't finished. He turned to face me fully. Something cracked in his expression. I'd like you to come not because the contract requires it, but because I'm asking. Because I'd appreciate your presence instead of just expecting it. It was the smallest offering. It felt seismic. Okay, I whispered. I'll be there. But I didn't know Yuna had spent 5 years planning her return, or that the real reason she'd show up at that gala wasn't to win him back. It was to destroy him completely. The gala was at Lumina Tower, Theo's masterpiece. 70 stories of twisted glass defying physics. I wore the burgundy gown, and for once, Theo's eyes actually saw me. You look beautiful. Something warm bloomed in my chest. We arrived together, his hand at my back. But this time, the touch felt real. The event packed Seoul's architectural elite. Theo accepted accolades with controlled grace. Then I saw her, stunning in emerald silk, moving through the crowd with predatory confidence, heading straight for Theo. Theo, yeah? She said, touching his arm with familiar intimacy. Congratulations, you've outdone yourself. Theo's entire body went rigid. Yuna. I felt the name like a punch. Aren't you going to introduce me to your lovely wife? Yuna's smile was poison. I heard about the marriage. How strategic. Tell me, does she know about us? We should go, Theo said, voice tight. But Yuna blocked our path. I've been thinking about you. About what we could have had if you hadn't been so stubbornly moral. I made a mistake, Theo. We could try again. No. Flat. Final. Still holding grudges? Yuna laughed, sharp and cutting. That's why you'll always be alone, Appa. You're incapable of love. He's a machine who... He's not alone. And that's when I said it. The thing that made me realize this wasn't just about defending my husband. This was about saving him from himself. I stepped between them, pulse hammering. And he's not interested. You had your chance 5 years ago, when you chose espionage over integrity. Now you have 10 seconds to walk away before I make sure everyone here knows exactly what kind of professional you are. Yuna's eyes narrowed. You have no idea what you're protecting. He's incapable of... He's my husband. My voice cut like glass. And you're nothing. So move. Yuna looked like she might argue. Then she saw something in my face, or maybe in Theo's, who had moved to stand directly behind me, solid and unmovable, and backed down. Enjoy your transaction, she said, disappearing into the crowd. My hands were shaking. Theo's fingers closed around them, warm and grounding. Thank you. She was wrong about you. Was she? His dark eyes searched mine. Sienna, I've treated you terribly. I used our marriage as armor and didn't think about what that cost you. You deserved better. Then give me better now. We left early, drove home in charged silence. In the penthouse, Theo walked straight to the greenhouse. I followed. I don't know how to do this, he admitted, standing beneath the maple. How to let someone in without waiting for betrayal. How to build something with another person when every instinct tells me to protect myself. Start small. I moved closer. Tell me one true thing you've never told anyone. Theo took a shaking breath. I kept this greenhouse because destroying it felt like admitting she won. Like letting her take the part of me that could still hope. So I locked it away instead. That's not stupid, that's human. I don't want to be human. Human hurts. Human also feels, Theo. Human connects, grows, loves. You built spaces where people can live fully, but you won't let yourself occupy the same kind of space. What if I'm no good at it? What if you are? I reached up, fingers barely touching his jaw. What if you let me teach you that not everyone will hurt you, that I won't? You can't promise that. No, but I can promise I'll try, that I see you, not the architect, not the billionaire, not the man hiding behind contracts. I see you, Theo Kang, and I think you're worth the risk. He caught my hand, pressed it against his chest where I could feel his heart racing. I'm afraid. Me too. When he kissed me, it was nothing like our wedding, tentative and searching, a question instead of obligation. I answered by wrapping my arms around his neck, and Theo pulled me closer, finally allowing himself to feel. What happened next? We spent 3 months building something neither of us thought was possible, and Theo had to face the one thing he'd been running from, the possibility that he could love again. We stayed in the greenhouse until dawn, talking about childhoods and dreams and fears. Theo told me about growing up in Seoul, the pressure to succeed, the loneliness of always being the smartest in the room. I shared my passion for photography, abandoned when my father's company collapsed. Show me, Theo said. Your photos. I want to see what you see. 3 months later. The penthouse had transformed. Music during breakfast, my photographs lined the hallways, Seoul streets and greenhouse close-ups that Theo had professionally framed. They'd converted a spare bedroom into a studio for me. And the greenhouse door? Permanently open. I have something for you, Theo said one morning, sliding an envelope across the table. Inside was a contract, different from our marriage agreement. Photography commission for the Gangnam Cultural Center project. Documenting the build from groundbreaking to completion. Commissioned by Theo Kang Architecture. Photographer, Sienna Monroe Kang. You're giving me a job? I looked up, stunned. I'm giving you back your dream. Theo reached across, fingers tangling with mine. You said you wanted to photograph spaces where people live fully. So photograph mine. Show me what you see when you look at the things I build. Theo, this is selfish, actually, because then you'll have to stay close to the construction sites, which means you'll stay close to me. And I've discovered I really hate when you're not close. I laughed, tears blurring my vision. You're getting better at this feelings thing. I have a good teacher. He stood, pulling me into his arms. Sienna, I know we started this all wrong, but I want to do it right now. Not as a contract or arrangement, but as partners. Real partners who choose each other every day. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you. I'm saying these 3 months taught me more about living than 31 years of existing ever did. I'm saying, when our contract ends in 2.5 years, I want to tear it up and propose to you properly, with choice and intention and no lawyers in sight. I kissed him instead of answering with words, pouring everything I felt into the connection between us. I love you too, I whispered against his lips. And I choose you, Theo Kang. Every single day, I choose you? We stood in the greenhouse as morning light filtered through glass, surrounded by living, growing things. 2 people who'd started as strangers, bound by contracts and fear, now tangled together in something infinitely more precious. Love wasn't the transaction we'd signed up for. It was the transformation we'd built together. One conversation, one truth, one risk at a time. And it was just beginning. Smash that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment with your favorite moment. I read every single one. Next week's story? Even more intense. You've been warned.